Friends, I greet you. I'm still crawling with you, Sergey. So you are watching Feeder Fishin' where I am. Today we are at Lake Udomlya, in the city of the same name. The so-called second drain. What am I doing here? I've actually been here for 3 days already. The first 2 days, I was engaged in catching predatory fish. Sailed on a boat. I fished all these bays. The goal was of course to catch tilapia, but as it turns out, tilapia is now on the fringe. They can be seen very well in polarized lenses. They float almost underfoot. Individuals 1.5–2 kilograms in pairs, in such a fashionable pinkish, in its dark colors. I still managed to catch one from the shore in a couple of days. This is on the first drain, and I caught one literally in that bay. But nevertheless, as if tilapia, it didn't work out at all. I can say it didn't work out at all. We caught some pike perch and that's about it. Second day, which I have already traveled along the shore and caught, I periodically looked at the micro jig. Where is good? Fish bite white bream. And found out that it's not bad at all. Peeper. And for those who will watch and think that there is some kind of ban here and so on, and I came here for a reason too, because the Moscow River level was raised for the summer. The water is muddy, there's nothing to do there for a couple of weeks, and here on these 2 lakes letters in Udomlya is coming. Ban all catch. Spinning and so on. You can fish with a feeder. This is 1 fishing rod, 1 hook. It comes only from the 20th of April. It's the 7th now. In essence, how can you catch? And there are quite a lot of people on the reservoir. Crucian carp is seen periodically. And when we walked, you could see him rummaging around in the bushes. Not eyelashes either, but in very small quantities. Yesterday I saw that here. The man caught a Crucian carp very well. But he threw it very far, something that the locals can't do. They catch everything literally right behind this dump. So I decided today, choose this particular place. Of course I want to catch a Crucian carp, but I'm not really ready for it. Of course I would like some low-grade bait shades. Awesome garlic and so on. To try it anyway. Purposefully swim Crucian carp, but nevertheless we will try to do it today. We have it with us. All options are on the living component, which only he can come up with for himself. This Crucian carp. Do you understand that Crucian carp is the nastiest fish? Can change its preferences every 15 minutes. We are not in the south of Russia and in the middle zone. That's why fishing will most likely be difficult. I also threw in some cold water yesterday. I looked at what was going on with the fish here. The depth is about 5. With something and the fish are just from the bottom up to 2 meters. This is just a layer of hellish belly. It's not clear whether these are Crucian carp or not. All breams. Well, in fact, we're going to deal with this today. I hope we can handle it and everything will work out for us. conditions are, which we will have to work on today. As you see, a warm reset is coming for me. The water is about 25 degrees regardless that it's the beginning of April. But since a couple of months ago there were reactors are turned off, there was water here, about 70 degrees. All the tilapia, as if, well, not all of it, a large amount of it of course, lay just dead on the shore. This fish was a heat-loving fish. She rarely tolerates fever either, but large individuals, as it turned out, are good. They are transferring because they have already adapted here over the years. Well, the topic is that today we don't have any goals or tasks to catch. Accordingly, according to the measurements, we immediately look for deep points. In what? The trick of this channel. Literally 3 meters away. Just a sharp drop. And this is immediately a depth of about 4.5 meters. Then gradually like this, it's even. Just a perfectly flat table. With a depth of 5 and 5. There is exactly the same wall on the other side, just a way out. This reset works. You can see that it's all there in width. There all these streams are pouring. The main thing is that, as it were, the current does not exist evenly throughout the entire channel. I was sailing on a boat the day before yesterday and I understood this clearly. Main 2 streams, which accordingly work from this plumb. They walk along the shore and that's how they washed up these walls. And in the middle there is practically no movement at all. If you lift the form too high, then the feeding trough is 50-60 grams will lie quietly. But again, this is at a high level. In winter the level is much lower. The jet is positioned completely differently. So this water flow stops the volume of water very strongly. And this summer one. And here's the main thing, that in the middle there is practically no stream. The fish that are constantly there in a stream will not be able to. She will go there anyway. According to the measurements, none. Fundamental there. Difference in structure and so on, nothing. Essentially one of the points. This is 55 turns of my reel. And the other form, why am I sitting with exactly 2 forms? Because crucian carp fishing and catching. This cunning fish does not imply any tempo. Crucian carp is afraid of tempo, and at this pace, will come running in huge quantities, not large. She will simply torture us and will not allow the crucian carp to enter the spot. That's why this form, with a test of 100 grams 3 and 6 are the same. New products on the elegance market. Series V2 and a form on the distant border. It's 3 and 9 with a test of 120. I think this is more than enough for us. All stretch reels are also a series of 2. 500 and 500 with gear. 4 and 6. That is, it will be possible to drag this fish like a bulldozer. These crucian carp, bream and so on. By odd distances. The situation is as follows. One point will be constantly fed, and work will be introduced on it. Work with the help of a bloodworm there. Maggots, chopped uncut corn some kind of aromas bloodworm mixing. That is, we will go through all these options. Because it's crucian carp, it won't stand on the same feed all day. It's a fact. The second form is purely a search form. I put it out from the start. At a distance of 25 turns. That is, after this dump, there is a small step 4, and after it falls by 5, he will stand there. That is, this is the difference in jets. I have a pretty fast stream going here. The flow behind it is much slower. You can see it right on the foam. A little stripe is emerging. It will be first point. The second one will feed accordingly, and there will be work on it. This form after for food if it does not bring some positive result for us. We will change the distance. It should definitely be increased because the last fishing I saw here, the man was fishing far away. And the main fish was there, downstream from me. There are still about 15 or 20 people sitting there. They all throw their feeders nearby. Nipples and Neva coils and so on. They can't throw far. In fact, they sit below the current. And they can hold the fish for me normally. That's the main point. These are probably still distant frontiers. Following the example of such a situation, let's go. In the area. that the first hour is very positive. It's quite interesting what's happening while we're sorting it out. Far point after feeding. From the first cast on a worm. Brought a good crucian carp. Buffalo, they're called bufo. In my opinion, there are probably 450 grams in it for sure. Well, we kind of have experience. And those who watch my videos constantly understand that. If he pecked at the run-up, most likely on the feeding spot, he won't want to hold on. Well, or maybe we'll get lucky after all. In fact, this is not true. Of course, as always, as soon as you start to be seduced, everything starts to happen, one place at a time. And then bream. Undergrowth. At this line there are just breams. Nothing else happens. What kind of pickles are these? Then in general 150, and there are 350 such breams. Neither a worm nor a maggot, you are nothing. Everything is just bream but nothing else with the top. On the distant frontier. Another crucian carp was caught. Right behind him is the second one. There seems to be some hope here already. And hope appeared at that moment when the live component has disappeared from the bait. Who collects linen here very well. And here on clean feed. More or less like 2 or 3 worms. We sit, wait, and wait. We are not working with this form anymore. I'll probably be rearranging it now, because in an hour, there is not a single crucian carp. Here on the far distance, there are already 3 of them on this form, so we will definitely rearrange, and continue working on the live component. Try serving corn separately somehow, or maggots separately. Let's try to do all this mixed up. Corn and maggots mix very well, as in carp fishing. Let's try to indulge in some more shawls, because the amount of crucian carp that I saw here, and now at the moment there is none, but the truth is bigger for us. Well, friends, it's been 2 hours. And it began as they say. These crucian carp fishings are just 90% of the fishermen is driven crazy. Of course, if it is not in the southern region, where in every puddle there is one fish that bites, and the same worm for 5 or 6 crucians. In the second part even the lingerie disappeared. It's not clear what happened. The only explanation I can find so far is this. The bite gradually died down, quiet, but brought me another karasik. On this dead on long pauses, 4-5 minutes, after that just from all 2 points. Yes. Got caught a catfish. These are channel catfish, but they have already grown up. Instead of these they already weigh normally there. There are exactly 400 and 500 grams. At close range. Exactly the same thing happened, just like that with a click. And on the second part everything turned off. Are these catfish just come in some kind of school of their own? Who crawl along the bottom there, just scraping their bellies. They come in and just lift the fish somewhere higher. They don't let her just feed. But why did it happen exactly the same way? It's not clear yet. This form. From a distance of 25 he went to 40. After the feed it's quiet there too. We select attachments, we conjure. So far from the first active hour. Was revealed. That the best hook works like this. Well, by local standards I think he's generally delicate. By Moscow standards, he's certainly seasoned. Because there is wire here. Probably closer already. By the 40th. Hook probably bends standard honeycomb. This is a Grant Feeder Series 5 in size 14. This hook works the best so far. No silver roaches and so on. Because there is a stream, fish have to be transported through it. I need a specific wire so that the fish doesn't drain. And yet this is a reservoir eudomlia in which there is a huge number of fish species. Maybe the same tilapia will bite and deal with your 09th leash. Just for once. So today I have leader line in only 2 variants. I don't have any 09 with me. This is our model in size 153. And Sherman Pro, which I use already 4 years. This is 181. I decided to refine. When did all this happen? The bites are gone. I put 153rd. This always happens right here. As if under a carbon copy. And when I'm landing the fish I understand that it's a good fish. Most likely it was just a healthy catfish. Because I was dragging him. He didn't really resist and just pushed towards the bottom. Most likely it was a dream. He just dealt with the 153rd line. Just a bite and goodbye. After there are 5 or 6 turns. So I went back again to the thick line. And I realized that I need to try to do it before feeding. I made the decor without any living component. Still some understanding that this catfish comes to this cutting. It seems to me that this is how it all works. Caught a couple more tilapias. Small, true, but I caught it. Their bellies are empty, there are no caviar in them. Maybe some have already been discarded. So for myself of course I'm making a more convenient calendar. When this tilapia is not lucky. They say that it happens 3 times a year. No luck because there is water here in the summer. It just gets up to 30 degrees there. She has Acapulco Santrope here, I don't know. Oh well, what the hell, we're just now spawning. We will continue to try to conjure with Crucian Carp. Now we'll do this supplementary feeding. A new line has been set, and the far point remains the same. And we will work with her on other feeds. Well, as always, everything is as always. The first hour is like that. And then here it is again. At peak or cubed. It's okay. I think we'll come up with something now, because if there are no fish in this location, I don't know where I'll say then. experience, and constant selection of bare fruit. The third hour is absolutely behind us. After that, before feeding with clean food, both points came to life. Odd distance 40. Brings rare bream. Zero Crucian's distant frontier brought another 5 pieces. Again on these long pauses. The main thing is 2-3 worms. And just don't touch these lil pokes. Let them kill this worm. Suck, do whatever. The Crucian carp will come. Everything will be fine. The only nuance that after this dry. Before the feed, the point gradually began to come to life, but not straight from the spot 200. I made a cut. Quiet. I made a cut of bloodworms with maggots, which I had at the start. I have already analyzed this. When I was sitting, I was thinking what to do. I had a sharp start. Bloodworms, maggots. I did the same thing. I tried to mix it into the food a little bit, so as not to serve it in its pure form. And little by little, just throwing at the point at a low tempo. Activated first bream. Crucian carp, scoundrel Crucian carp. Twin, so he is already average. About nothing at all. I'll definitely be moving it now. Because most of the fishing was done, I will definitely move it now. Make an absolute copy. I'll just go much further to the left. I will make the same line absolutely. Because there is an understanding that middle of the reservoir, somehow it's pressed, or already fed. I got some kind of strange old cord here already. Someone sat before me and tore it off. I'll just put it under that far wall. Let them not compete with each other. I'll breed them so well, about 20-30 meters. I think this will be quite enough. On this cut, as if to add bloodworms little by little. Small living. The point seems to start to accelerate, and the result is sometimes like waving 2 sticks. Wow. I'll try. I'll leave the next hour accordingly. As I said, I'll put the long-range one. I don't know what to try for this anymore. It feels like the corn is suddenly just burying the point. It's not clear why. Who's sailing there? I don't understand. Along that bank, 3 of them are jumping for it. The biggest one probably. Well, I saw them just jumping out from under the heel. They have some there too. Dark games must be happening. I just brushed aside the corn. That's why the main feature of all Russia. Were caught on a worm. One was caught 5. White maggots. You hook the red one, they just ignore you. It's not clear why. Even small breams seem to be capricious. And Roma is absolute evil. The fish are not so pressed here, and I'm not spoiled by Roma. Well, I don't have any suitable aroma with me. Some garlic pepper. And at the bottom I want to pour something like this. Well, I don't have the classic Crucian carp with me. I wasn't prepared. I thought they'd beat me anyway. I will work, that's why I have. I tried to add some scopics. It didn't even seem like anything. Worse, spilled. Sports. Just nailed the underdog better and that's it. Well, sport is kind of beyond competition. It works very well on roach. Well, here he works well on the side, because the water temperature is of course very hot. My bait mix is also not very simple. I always carry it with me. I always carried anise all winter long. Took and posted, it's not clear why. In the end I have. Roach River. 2 packs are such a chocolate shade. Moderately heavy bait. There are practically no dust particles there. And accordingly, since there is a large abundance of fish here, it's quite difficult to feed a large fish. Because of the flying breams, they just sweep out this trough, there in a minute, if not less. So I added 2 packs of big fish. There are a lot of them. Nuts that take a long time to digest in fish and are good, can quickly feed small fish. Thus giving a variation. Come up bigger. Because what particles will remain? I slightly modified this composition with syrup. Because the stream is generally not very good, but there is a little bit I glued it. A bit from the word straight. Well, I don't know, there's probably about 100 grams per 4 kilograms. It's about nothing, just to create some kind of sticky. In fact, the composition is certainly not the most beautiful. There's nothing more to say here. But nevertheless I think that we have quite a catch here. At least we'll try. Calculate how many crucians we caught. The banks caught a lot. In essence, you can beat her like that all day long with 2 forms. And if you go over for fishing with 1 form, then at such a pace of Crucian carp, we will never get it at all. Here is one blessing, which stands waiting with the food tightly clamped. No dust, no smoke. But Tom is waiting for his Crucian carp. It doesn't work here. You start to accelerate. It's always easy for bream to get into this. Hellish. Well, it's okay. Fedorny fishing can be different while the Moscow River is happening. Don't understand that the fish aren't biting, but here you can actively and successfully fish. Luckily, the weather is fine today. The real spring days have arrived. It's already 17 degrees today. It's so cool that I'm sitting here relaxing in such nature. If you don't look at the pipes, it's very beautiful that way. Birds sing, toads croak. Everything is great. Well, okay, I'll keep catching more. I'll show and tell you what happened. Well, friends, here is my conclusion. Fishing is awesome, fishing is interesting. Compared to the Moscow River, just a bomb of fish a lot. When you try to catch these breams in Moscow, we need to get rid of people like that here. Well, and nevertheless, I think I managed to catch these crucians after all. Just look. These are bigger than palms. As they are often called frying pans. I put 3 pieces in the frying pan, and everything is ready. Of course I won't do that. Maybe they still are in some non-bride period, and as always, I release all the fish. About 7 kilograms, probably. These are different types of white bream, roaches and tilapia, catfish and still crucian carp. Well, here it's probably about 4 kilograms, 4 maximum. 4.5, quiet. These are these restless guys. Who even jump on a frying pan without a head? I hope it's fishing. Did you like it? For those who are looking videos on the topic of spring carp fishing, watch previous episodes which were in closed bodies of water, that is, ponds. Well, watch the previous videos about channels with current, what kind of fish is in them, how to select bait, what fish to look for, which one to catch and which one not to catch, and which one do you want to catch. Crucian carp is always surprises in its repertoire, makes you think all the time. He twisted my head from side to side all day long, but I still consider it a plus. Plus because the head is constantly working. Well, and sweaty ones. A sweaty brain constantly throws up some tricks. It turns out my neighbors had pretty good fishing, even on the treatment of 2. That's why this picky person always makes look for something new. The topic is interesting. Fishing, which we have been doing practically all our lives. And thank you. What did you watch? Write comments, put likes, and definitely subscribe. I will be pleased. And are you interested in everything? Until next time, it's time for me to release the fish.